Hi there, my name is Melissa Hall with QA Prep, and today I wanted to talk to you about turning your session into a note. Now, if you have signed up for my private practice paperwork crash course, then you'll know that I talk a lot about different templates you can use, and I give you a bunch of different types. But today I wanted to talk about kind of the principles of writing a note and how to think about it regardless of what template you choose. So the first thing you want to do is obviously sit down to write your note, think about what happened in your session. And the first thing I like to focus on to make this a little bit easier is to think about your interventions. So what did you do as the therapist in the session? A lot of times we focus on the client and stuff that they said or actions that they made, but really think about what was your action during the session. And regardless of what type of therapy you provide, you did some action. Even if that action was sitting there listening almost in complete silence, that is an action. And if that's the type of therapy you provide, then you believe even that is very therapeutic and important. So you want to focus on that. So think about what interventions you provided and put those into words. So it might just be one or two sentences, one or two things. You may have redirected, you may have drawn their attention to something, you may have provided some psychoeducation on a topic, you might have challenged someone's cognitive distortions or assisted with reality testing of some sort. There are a lot of different things you do in your session. So after you've identified what you did, then consider what your client's response was. So how did they respond when they walked into the door at the beginning of session? How did they respond to things that you did, the interventions you provided? How did they respond at the end of the session? How did they respond if you recommended homework? So consider all those actions that you did and then also things that they may have brought up on their own and what was their response. So after you have that should be a pretty meaty note. Even in just a few sentences, it should really give a good picture of what happened. But then you also want to think about the plan and what's going to happen next. So whether or not you use a specific plan section, which I do recommend in pretty much all the templates, that you identify what's going to happen after the session, even if it's just the next session is next week. But you want to think about what steps you're going to take, what steps the client's going to take, what action is going on outside of the session. And that's something that a lot of us don't focus on. We get really, we get tunnel vision and really focus on what's happening in the session, especially with our notes. But I would really encourage you to think about how is this session going to apply to your client's everyday life. And that's one way that you can really use your notes to enhance the clinical work that you're doing. Because it just gives a totally different flavor than just writing, okay, they're going to show up again next Wednesday at 3 p.m. So hopefully that was really helpful and gives you some food for thought and some ways to improve upon your note writing no matter what template you use, no matter what setting you are providing therapy. If you haven't signed up for my crash course, please do so. I go into a lot more specifics about those templates that you can use. But if you have already tried out the crash course and feel like you still need a little bit more help to really connect with your paperwork, then also think about my clinical documentation course. I call it Meaningful Documentation. It's an online course where we go really in depth into things like notes, forms, policies, all kinds of different circumstances. So please check that out if you haven't already. All right, well, I hope this was really helpful for you. Thanks for listening and happy writing.